know nothing about boxing. If you look at my box rec, I'm ranked. So I train in IQ boxing. I got thrown in the boxing gym, and I just.
Hi guys, it's Tubbs here from Fighters Talk TV, and we're with Ahmed Hatim. How are you doing today? And his manager Mick. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, good.
So nice to have you into the studio for the first time, and look forward to many more. And I want to look at your sort of career as you got to now, because you've got a fight coming up on the 23rd of September, isn't he, Mick?
That's right. Yeah.
So he's going to be at York Hall. So don't forget, get your tickets, and we'll give you some details in the link below to where to get it from, hopefully from your site.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. So talk about your heritage and how you got involved in boxing.
How I got involved in boxing, you know, I'm sure you get this a lot, but yeah, I was young, I was naughty, I was full of energy, you know.
So was Max.
you know, I got thrown in the boxing gym, and I just never looked back. You know, I mean, it kept me in the straight path, it kept me out of trouble. So I was like, you know what, I might as well stick to this. And
you're enjoying it so far?
Oh, I'm loving it, man. Loving it.
So you got a 6-0 record, haven't you? 5-0. Do apologise. 5-0 record. So it will be 6-0 after. Yeah.
God willing, that's it.
He was supposed to be fighting this July, wasn't it? But his opponent.
Yeah. It's June 17th. I was meant to.
Yeah, but his opponent had to pull out because he caught an injury, so he had to pull out. So we've rearranged it for September 23rd.
And that's at York Hall, London, isn't it? The Mecca of boxing.
Yeah.
As they say.
Nothing better than York Hall, man.
Okay, so when you first got involved in boxing, you know, normally it's a big family thing. So my family go back in fight. My brother's an MMA cage fighter, and you know, you can go back many generations of it. Is that the same for you?
Absolutely not.
So this is your first generation fighter?
Yeah, yes. I think, you know what, I'll tell you, to make it even worse, is the country that I come from know nothing about boxing. If you look at my box rec, I'm ranked #1 in Sudan.
Out of 1, we did see that. I'm sure that's for your weight division.
There's no boxers that come out of Sudan, so I'd like to be the first Sudanese world champion.
Right, I don't suppose it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I mean, we've seen a lot of that, happen recently.
That's the plan.
That's it.
So whereabouts do you train?
So I train in IQ boxing in northwest London, Neasden. IQ boxing under Nicholas Premper and Xavier Miller. They're the people I work with.
And they were involved in the white camp very recently, weren't they?
Yes, Xavier Miller was Dylan White's trainer. I was lucky to be involved in that camp. I was out there for about 2 weeks, so I saw how things were really done at that sort of high level. You know, it was really it was valuable experience. You know, got to see all sorts of different things from this S&C, from the training. It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, when you go into those pro fight camps, I mean, a lot of camera crews aren't allowed in, so, you know, but obviously we know what sort of goes on, no matter hard work and dedication, but it was a lot of fun that goes on alongside it.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun. It was interesting.
I can imagine being in Dylan White's camp. You get rather interested. He's quite verbal and outspoken at the best of times.
Yes, and he was actually quiet that time, if you remember, quiet with the Tyson Fury fight, but no, behind closed doors and you know, in the gym, it was a good time. You know?
Did you see a lot of his brother?
Dean? No, I didn't see. He wasn't out there when I was out there. I was only out there for 2 weeks, but I saw all sorts of people coming in. You know, it was busy in there. Saw a lot of his dogs. Yeah, a lot of dogs.
Yeah, I think we've seen some of the footage of them with some of the other guys as well. So I'm going to talk about, you know, you've got where you were living and things, because you were quite close to the Grenfell stuff when that was going off, wasn't it? I mean, that was terrible thing, and you know, talk about what happened.
It was
there.
horrible. It was a horrible time. Obviously, I went to Dell Youth. Dell Youth was an amateur gym in Grenfell, first floor. In fact, the day it happened, I was in the building like 3 or 4 hours beforehand. I was training, and so I left, and then it was just so surreal how, like, you know, a couple hours later, you know, the building you was in is just, you know, up in flames. But yeah, it was
terrible thing.
It was terrible, honestly.
Terrible thing. So we'll bring Mick in now. Obviously, we know one another. Mick, talk about this young man. Tell me, how'd you get involved? And
Well, a good friend of mine, Jim Fenwick, who's off camera, you know.
It's hiding.
Yeah, he's hiding, yeah. He introduced Ahmed to me. Me and Jim go back a long way with our escapades with Richard Comey. You know, Jim has been by our side with his photography and a lot of other stuff in helping guiding Richard to his world championship that he won in Dallas. And he's always been on the lookout for other fighters of that ilk, you know, in terms of fighters that, you know, don't always get the opportunities which are afforded to certain types of fighters in the UK, in terms of the promoters always looking for kind of high profile amateurs, you know, Olympians or you know, ones with very, very good amateur careers. There are a lot of fighters that come into the game late, you know, have short amateur careers, but are really good, really dedicated. They find themselves late in the game, and there's a lack of opportunities for those, you know. So Jim, obviously Ahmed, like I said, he was a bit of a naughty boy when he was a bit younger, and he was at Dale Youth, and obviously needed our type of guidance. So we had a look at him, and we haven't looked back really. It was a bit frustrating at first, you know, because obviously we had to find him the right trainers and put the right team around him, you know, because obviously coming out of, I think it was COVID when we first started, just before COVID, and it was a lockdown. It was very difficult at that time, you know, because Ahmed was eager to get going, but obviously there's nothing you could do. And once he made his mind up to turn pro, and then we couldn't get him the fights at that time, it was a very difficult time mentally, you know, because obviously he wanted to fight. But we overcame that, and the shows that he's on with Steve Goodman have been very, very beneficial for his career and given us the right trajectory in his development, which is the most important thing I think with fighters of his ilk, is development. You know, I mean, some fighters come into the game and they think, and I think that the system in the UK hasn't helped, in terms of a lot of fighters are too eager to be on TV, and social media doesn't help as well. Too eager to be on TV, too eager to earn the money before they've actually learned their craft. And as we know, boxing is a short game. It's a short profession. You know, if you're not careful, you know, and you can sign with a major promoter one day and be dropped within a year and you're never seen again. We've seen that with many fighters. But if you have that grounded foundation, that good solid foundation, that you've been through the right paths, you know, your southern areas, you're English, you're British, you know, you've got a chance.
Commonwealth European.
You've got a great chance to have a long, sustained career in boxing, because you yourself have put the foundations, you've set the foundations for yourself, you know. So with Ahmed, these are the things that we're looking to do. Unfortunately for him, his reputation is now preceding him in gyms in and around the southeast and stuff. To get him fights, we find it very, very difficult, you know, because the type of fighters that we need for him to develop are refusing to point blank to fight.
I don't know why as well.
Yeah. Well,
we'll go back and look at the videos. That might give him a clue.
Well, Ahmed keeps putting up videos on social media of him knocking people out and hurting people, so that probably doesn't help. But you know, but hey ho, we have to look at other ways of developing him. So.
Yeah, so try not to. In the next fight, it's the first 10 rounder you've done, isn't it?
The first 10 round.
With Dan Booth, isn't it?
It will be the first 10 round that I'll be doing with good old Dan.
So are we're sort of, are you being given instructions to at least get 2-3 rounds in the bank before we blast people's teeth out, or are we?
You know what? You know what? We always go in there I always prepare for 10 plus rounds. You know what I mean? So if it goes 10 rounds, it goes 10 rounds. If it doesn't go 10 rounds, then go home early.
Well, you don't get paid for overtime, as they say, isn't it? So
that's it.
Just get in there,
but
get the job done.
We always do prepare for 10 rounds and a solid 10 rounds.
Well, we'll look forward to it. I'm sure we'll be going there. We'll sit with you in the changing rooms, and we'll give the folks a view at home of what goes on and the preparations and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to sort of follow you, hopefully, throughout the rest of your career.
I appreciate that.
We'll certainly do that. We like to follow young fighters right from the start all the way through and show loyalty to them. So that's what we want to try and do, and show the people at home. I mean, a lot of people don't realise these guys are actually human beings. Yeah, when that bell rings, it's not the day they first decide to pick up a set of gloves. There's a lot that goes into it beforehand. So where do you see this Ahmed's career, Mick, going from here? What would you like to see
again,
apart from a world title next week?
Yeah, again, win it next week and lose it the week after. But
no, we get that. We're never losing it, man.
Just like confidence.
What you have to see is the potential in the fight, and then you have to nurture that potential. You know, you have to make sure the fighter himself doesn't get ahead of himself, or herself. You know, the potential's there, but if it isn't worked and nurtured properly, it could fall off a cliff very easily. You know, at the end of the day, you're putting someone in a ring that's got an opponent across the other side of the ring that's looking to tear their head off. You know, so if you don't prepare them in stages and have them mentally and physically ready at specific times, you know, they lose. It can be a long way back. You know, so we have to guide his career carefully. I mean, this 10-rounder was something that we was kind of forced into, in a sense that we had to find an opponent that we felt that would help him develop, you know, without throwing him too much in the deep end, because he still has only had 5 fights. You know, he's got a lot of work in front of him, you know, not just physically but mentally as well when he steps into the ring. So this fight is going to help him develop, you know, in terms of his first 10-rounder. His training camp is going to be different, his sparring is going to be different, everything's going to be different, and he needs to absorb that, you know, so that we can see, as his management team, we can see that he's taking those lessons forward, you know, because if he doesn't, then it'll be back down to 6-rounders, you know what I mean, and back again to the drawing board and say, well, you didn't learn, or we didn't learn as a team from this opportunity, so we'll have to take a step back. Hopefully that won't be the case. I'm confident that it's not going to be the case, but at the same time, we have to be patient. You know, patience is the key in boxing. You know, like I said, I'm not a lover of first-time fighters really seeing the bright lights and going on TV and wanting to be with these big promoter shows, because you're there to be shot at. There's so many eyes on you, and it's a learning curve for these fighters. It's not easy climbing through those rings at the best of times, let alone climbing in there. You've got all the bright lights, all the TV cameras, all the pundits, and all the social media, all that. If you don't perform well, the next day, you've got a ton load of people saying, oh, he ain't no good, he ain't this, he ain't that. It's not good for the boxer's mentality. It's not good for the boxer's confidence. But when you go through promotions like what Steve Goodwin does, you know, you're able to learn, you know what I mean? And there's not too much of an expectation on you, you know, because people don't give those shows the prestige of the big shows and with all the bright lights. So you can learn your craft quietly and confidently. And before you know it, in a year, 2, 3 years' time, you're a solid, grounded fighter. That if the call does come to go on one of those shows, you've already done your work, you've already done your groundwork, you've already got your foundations in. And your opponent might underestimate you because they might think, oh, he's never been on a big show before. But hang on, he's got all these great foundations.
And underestimate all they want, man.
You take it.
You got two hands, haven't you? I think that's where it comes in. I mean, and you sort of find as you go on, when pros start their career, it's sort of made for them for sort of 6 to 10 fights, and then you've done your sort of foundation, as you like, and then you start to see the step ups for fight 11 to 15, and depends on how you're dealing with opponents. I mean, you know, if you're dealing with them inside of 2 rounds, you create that buzz, but it's not always the best, because the bigger the pride, the harder the fall.
Exactly, and you know, as you step up, your opponents step up, and they're more canny. They know the game a little bit more, so they can take away all your positives. They can take them away from you, because they will see videos and tapes of you, and they'll be able to say, well, I want to get in with him, but I know what he does well, or what he thinks he does well. I'll take that away from him as you step up. So, you know, it's a slow process in my eyes, a learning process. A lot of the experience is going to be in the ring, you know, and sometimes fighters don't like criticism. When you tell them, you know, when they go and knock someone out, or in it in a short period. They say, oh, they think how great they was. You have to bring them back down to earth and say, yeah, you knocked someone out, you caught them with a good shot, but you know there are other aspects to the game, you know, that we have to see that you can do, because as you get, I mean, if you look at all the greatest boxers, you know, they started off in a whirlwind of knocking people out, stopping people, but as they got to certain levels, they had to work out of ways to beat opponents over 10 and 12 rounds. You know, carve a fight into 3 or 4 parts. You know, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, or 4 rounds, 4 rounds, 4 rounds, and use that to defeat your opponent. It's not every time you're going to, no matter how much power you got, it's not every time you're going to step into the ring and knock someone out. So if that fails or if that doesn't happen, you've got to make sure that you're doing enough to win every single round.
And I'm also grateful to Michael and, you know, Steve for getting me these tough journeymen. I mean, if you look at my record, they hardly get stopped. I mean, in 250 something fights combined all together, that's how many rounds they've done. You can count with one hand how many times they've all got stopped. You know what I mean? I fight people with, you know, I mean, you hit them with a brick, they ain't going nowhere, you know what I mean? So I'm actually grateful, you know, for Michael and Steve for getting me these tough opponents. And, you know, my third fight, we fought Carl Sampson. Yeah, he came to tear my head apart, you know what I mean? And that's what I want to be involved with. I don't want someone that will come and the first couple punches, they just, you know, they go down and then I'll just, because it's false sense of, you know, it's false confidence. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want tough people. If I get them out, great. If I don't, then at least I got the experience in, you know.
Well, it's about ring generalship. It's about learning the ring craft. Yeah. And like you said, Mick, it's getting in there, blasting out opponents in 2 rounds is great, but you're being fed taxi drivers, lorry drivers, do you know what I mean? And that's great for the ego. Yeah. Then you step into someone who knows what they're doing, and now you've got a big ego problem because you haven't managed to get over it, and you haven't learned ring generalship to be able to deal with that.
Exactly.
You know, like you said, hitting them in the brick, they ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it can blow your confidence because you get this full sense of security. You can go and do it every time. And then as soon as you step up into 6 or 10 round, and all of a sudden the guy isn't going anywhere, all of a sudden you're looking around thinking, oh, he ain't going there. What can I do? But you should know what to do. But if you haven't had that taught to you, if you haven't had that in your training, in your camp, you're going to come unstuck. And I've seen it many a time when a fighter blasting out fighters in 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 rounds, and all of a sudden the commentators hype the fighter up, the promoter hypes the fighter up. You know, I mean, everybody on social media hypes the fighter up, and then they stick the fighter in a fight that he should never be in, you know, and all of a sudden after 5 rounds, he runs out of ideas, and come the championship rounds, done.
Yeah, well, it's also, the fitness is a big thing, isn't it? If you're never used to doing 10 rounds, you can sit there as much as you like in the sparring, as you know, and do 15 rounds straight off, but it's different when it's competition rounds, isn't it?
And that comes from a strong mentality, because like, if you're not strong mentally, tiredness will come like that. You know, it will come like that, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're strong mentally, you listen to your corner, you know when to take rests, you know when to take a break within a round, and you'll be fine. But that's all part and parcel of the learning curve of being patient and getting the right fights with the right opponents at the right time for you to be ready for those title fights.
It's also the preparation as well, man. And listen, I myself, I kill myself in training because I always try and make the fight the easiest part of the whole thing. You know, the fight, you train hard, kill yourself in training, fight easy, you know what I mean? Because the last place you want is to gas out in that ring, and yeah, it's not a fun place for you.
No,
it's not a fun place for someone to
I've been there
out.
quite a bit, gassing out inside of a few rounds. I mean, it also is the weight division. I mean, talking about the weight division you're in now, are you looking to stay there the way through, or are we going to?
No, I mean, we are looking at him. I think he started off at 140. Roughly, we thought he was going to be that, but I think he's going to be a lightweight for now. You know, that's what we're going to aim for, titles. Once he gets over this 10 rounder, and we will aim for those lightweight titles probably next year, come back to the southern area, whatever, and then we'll see how his body reacts, how he grows, and you know what I mean, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, because he's young, aren't you? Was it 20?
26.
Oh, you should have man strength by now, as they say, isn't it?
I'm still trying to develop that.
Your body changes naturally, so how his body, he trains well, you know, and he doesn't abuse his body, so whatever he's going to be, he's going to be. and then we'll come to that bridge we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But because he doesn't blow up, he doesn't, you know what I mean, fight at extraordinary weights that are not what he should be. So he will naturally progress and go up. But when that time comes, his body will tell him, and we'll just to make the adjustments.
So what do you feel?
What do I feel?
Do you feel
what in
the weight class and
look, when I drop weight, you know, when I start to shed weight, I shed weight, you know, quite good, and it comes off easy. I also work with a good nutritionist, Sinead. She really does help me. So listen, anyone with a belt at lightweight, I'm coming for them, man.
Sounds good. May have a couple more fights first, I would have thought.
Yeah. Well, this is what it is. Like Michael said, these are the learning fights. You know, this next 10 rounders, it's a learning fight. And I appreciate what Mike is doing. He's holding me back. If it was up to me, listen, I will.
World title tomorrow.
You know.
But that's the fighter's mentality, isn't it? When you start, I mean, I often ask this, and we interview right from young kids who are stepping into just the amateurs for the first time. And Max was, you can't see Max, by the way, guys, he's off camera as well. He was interviewing a little one by the name of Desi Rees. So 12 years old, and his dream, as Max said, where are you going to be in the next 5 years? He went, world champion. If he's 17, not impossible, but that's what it's about. When you get in it, that's all you can think of.
Yeah.
It's also it's also from as a manager's point of view, this is Ahmed's chosen career. Yeah. So we have to guide his career and make sure that he reaches his goals and some. You know, it's not just get there as quick as you can and then run out of steam. You know, he's 20. He's still got 10 years in the sport. You know, but we've got to make sure that they're 10 good years. You know, if we take unnecessary risks in this sport, we all know it's a dangerous sport. We all know it's hard for boxers, you know, to train and to keep them same mentality, because, you know, there are times when you train for a fight, the fight falls out of bed for one reason or another. The fighter's got to go back and stop training and then come back into camp. It's not easy. It's not like football where week in, week out they get paid whether they play or not. They get everything done for them. They go to the training ground. They come. It's not that for boxers, especially boxers like Ahmed, who, you know, didn't have a stellar amateur career, didn't get a major promoter waving a check at him saying, "Come on, my show, we're going to give you X, Y, Z per fight." He's had to grind it out from the beginning, you know. So our job, and from a management point of view, is to make sure that foundation is strong, so that as his career goes on, we make the right decisions and he's in the right place to have a fantastically long career.
And also, I say this to a lot of people, you know, sometimes, and this is no disrespect, I mean, fighters need protecting from themselves in a very big way. You know, because you've got 5 fights and 5 wins, you know, you're not ready to step up to those different levels, and you sometimes have to have your feet pulled back down to the ground, isn't it? Like, no disrespect to the fighters at all, but, you know, and I sort of, when I talked about people, you know, I enjoy my amateur stuff, but never any levels that this is, but loyalty is a big thing, you know, and my advice to anybody sitting next to me, or we talk to everybody from world champions right down, is always loyalty. It's got a bit of it, and you know, it has to be that way, because you've got to build that good team around you. I mean, you've got a good team around you now. Yes. I know obviously Dillian White switched trainers and he's done it again, and bits and pieces. So, and it's developing that great mindset. So if you go back to someone like a Chris Eubank, who stayed with the same Ronnie Davis all the way through his career, you know, how do you feel about that? Is that the sort of thing that you'd look to do as you go up? And obviously, you know, you've got lots of great trainers out there, Ben Davidsons and Rod McCracken.
For sure, definitely. You know, where you get, you know, good work, and I mean, if it's not broken, why change it?
Yeah, I sort of see it. I mean, I don't like to hear of fighters changing trainers. I sort of get it. I bring other trainers in as an assistance, but
there are some instances that it's plainly obvious. Yeah, and you know, and also from my point of view, you can't, if the fighter is not happy in something that he's doing on a regular basis. Like, a fighter has to be happy going to the gym. He has to be happy going to train. And if he's not, then there's a question that needs to be asked, and there's a meeting that needs to be had and we have to find out the reasons why. Because from my point of view as a manager, if it's my job to put a happy fighter in a
Sorry,
if it's
guys.
my job in a happy
Do you want to stop 1 second? We'll have to do that bit again.
in terms of changing trainers, you know, like sometimes it's obvious. Yeah, it is, because from my point of view, if your fighter isn't happy, if you're not happy going to the gym, how can I have 100% confidence in making a fight for him that he's going to be happy going into the ring? You know, I have to protect my fighter at all times. And if there's any way, shape or form that I see he's not happy, then I have to sit down and make arrangements to make sure if there are any problems in camp, they're ironed out before he steps through the ropes. Because my main responsibility is his health and safety. And if he's not training at his optimum, and if he's not feeling it, whether it's in the gym that he's in, whether it's with his trainer, or whether it's with the fight or the fighter that I've proposed to him, then I've got decisions to make. Because ultimately, his health and safety is paramount, you know, and you don't want a fighter going into a ring second guessing what he's done in the gym.
Yeah, I mean,
100% confident that he's learned everything, he's felt everything, he knows exactly what the game plan is. He goes in there, and if you get beat by the better guy, you get beat by the better guy. But preparation is key.
yeah, absolutely.
And it has to be from physically to mentally. It has to be. And if I see any chinks in that, as a manager, I will pull it up. I will ask the question, because it has to be. It can only be that way from a manager's point of view. And also from a fighter's point of view, it's also his responsibility. I can only speak from a fighter's point of view. It's his responsibility to also air those. If he feels there's something that isn't right with me, or his trainer, or the gym, it's his responsibility to speak up.
Single thing to, you know, keep, you know, prepare you for, because at the end of the day, you're getting in the ring and you know, you're taking blows to the head. So it's got to be done right.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where would you like to be, as opposed to, or I'll ask Mick where he sees you in 5 years?
Okay, well, I'd like to be. I'd like to obviously be moved at the right pace. I would like to be fighting. You know, I'd like to be in the big fights. That's what I got into boxing for. I'd like to be challenging for belts. Next 5 years, I think definitely British. You know, I mean British, European. You know, heading towards that sort of level. You know, and getting even higher. Ultimately, the end goal is to be a world champion. And like I said earlier on, my goal is to be the first Sudanese world champion.
Yeah, and talk about your family's heritage back there. I mean, you know, you're first generation fighter.
Yeah.
No sort of boxing or fighting going on in the family.
Like I said,
before.
there's no boxing. In Sudan, we don't have boxing. You know, boxing is not really heard of in Sudan. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to use my platform. I'm trying to, when I, God willing, get to those sort of heights and influence people and try to change that in Sudan and try to bring the, you know, some sort of, you know, you hear Ghana. There's a lot of boxing in Ghana. I'm trying to, you know, get Sudan to, especially with what's going on at this moment. My dream is to go back and actually, I was talking to this with Jim earlier on, is to take the amateur system we have here and give people a chance over there and get them to make something out of themselves.
Yeah, so when you look at your life, and you said you're a bit of a naughty one before.
I wouldn't say that.
So, let me take boxing away from you. Where would you have seen yourself at this stage of life if you didn't have boxing? I mean, a lot of us have talked about how it's actually saved lives. Do you see yourself in that sort of...
Well, I wouldn't, you know what, I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't say, oh, I was like heading towards, you know, total destruction. No, I wasn't. I was a bit of, you know, I had a lot of energy to burn out. But where would I see myself? I can never see myself doing a 9 to 5. No disrespect. No disrespect to people that do 9 to 5.
Neither can I. I leave that to Julie behind me.
You know what I mean? I can't see myself doing a 9 to 5. So it would be somewhere, something active. But I'm glad it's boxing. I'm glad that, you know, I get to wake up and do something that I love doing, and go punch people in the face without getting in trouble with it.
Yeah, well, it's always nicer to do it that way, I suppose. So, you know, obviously you got Mick guiding your career. You got some great set of trainers. You know, we've got every confidence. Big shout out to Steve Goodwin and his team as well for giving you the opportunities.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
100%. I mean, throughout the years, I've got a great relationship with Steve and the whole team, Kevin, Alan, you know what I mean, and Josh, you know what I mean, Olivier's daughter. So I've got a great relationship with them because we both started around about the same time, you know, and to be able to have an input in his opponents, you know, and when he fights, to develop him is massive, You don't want to wake up one morning not knowing who you're fighting, what time you're fighting, when you're fighting. For us, it's been able to plan his career mostly at the right pace. You know, unfortunately, some fights have fell out, but we've not done too bad. You know, obviously, his reputation now that precedes him is making things a little bit difficult.
Yeah, so stop posting. That means, yeah.
But in the main, I think we're on the right trajectory, and I think now. Once we do this, once he has this 10-rounder, it will tell us a lot. It will tell me a lot as to where his career is going and at to what pace it's now going to go.
Yeah.
You know, this 10-rounder is going to tell me a lot. No predictions after that, no predictions on titles or whatever, but I do believe, if I'm being honest, after the 10-rounder, during the next year after that, we should be looking at Southern areas and English titles.
Oh, Michael, listen, I want to come for all of them, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sick and tired of watching these fights and they just, you know, it's like a sparring. It's like a sparring match.
You know, we've seen plenty of them.
Yeah,
but, you know, we have to make sure that the time is right.
Yeah, this is the bit where we sort of tell you to keep your feet on the ground.
I keep my feet on the ground. But the truth to be said, you know, you watch these fights and you think, oh, you know, obviously, you just, you know what I mean? You look
at them and go, I'll deal with you inside of 60 seconds. Let alone.
I mean, it's yeah, like you said, keep your foot in the ground, keep your feet in the ground. But I know. If I was in there, you know, it would definitely be
over.
You know.
A different story.
We've been watching a lot of people in his weight class, and
that tippy tappy business.
Again,
well, there's a camera there. Feel free to call anyone out you like. It's fine.
Listen, you know what? I want to have this 10-rounder, but I'm telling you, anyone with a belt after this 10-rounder, I'm more than happy getting in there. You know, what's his name? Martin Madonna, whatever his name is. I would come after him. Yeah. Anyone that wants to.
That you fought,
Ben Smith, whatever his name is. I would smash him to bits as well. Listen. I'm not in the game to be, make friends and, you know, outside the ring we love
we'll be pals.
Yeah, you be pals, go out for a drink. No, I don't drink. We go out for a meal. You know, I don't drink. I don't go out. But in there, man, I'm trying to tear their heads apart and they got something I want. You know, they've got a belt, they've got Southern area belt, they've got, you know, I don't know who's got the English, but whoever's got that, he can get it too as well. I'm not in the business of making friends in the ring. You know what I mean? So I want these guys and I want them as soon as I can. But I understand I have to go through the development stage. I have to get this 10-round and I'm not underestimating Dan Booth. He's going to get it too. You know, but
just no underestimation about it. He's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, the 10-rounder is key. Like I said, it's a development and it's going to tell the team a lot about where he is mentally and physically. You know, the amount of rounds is irrelevant in terms of where the fight goes. It's a 10-round fight, so he knows he's got time to, you know, I mean, ease his way into the fight. It's not a 4-round or 6-rounder where he feels that he has to, you know, win every round. You know, and this is. It's 10 rounds.
You got a good opportunity to pace it, to learn.
Pace it. It's great. And for me, watching from afar, to see how he's reacting to the 10 rounds that he's got. You know, if he comes out like a raging bull and, you know what I mean, and then does all that and then tires in the last 4 rounds, I'm not going to be happy. I'll be telling you, I'm not going to be happy, and we'll be probably going back down to 4 rounds. You know what I mean? Because this is the whole point of this 10-rounder. You've got these 10 rounds to ease your way, to do what your coach says, to do what your corner says, take your time, and if the knockout comes, because he's got natural power, if the knockout comes, it will come. If you do all the right things at the right time, it will come naturally. But if you go looking for it, you know what I mean, that's when it tells me that your mental development is not happening. You know, so...
It's about learning the art, isn't it? Boxing is very much an art, and
well, it's the sweet science. It's the sweet science. You know, and people negate that in terms of, you know, fighters, how good you can be. It's not hitting someone more times than they hit you. It's lots of things, you know. And unfortunately, you see a lot of fighters that they don't understand that, you know, it can be a chess match. You know, I mean, Floyd was great at it, and we've got a fight coming up with Crawford and Spence that you're ultimately going to see two great champions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be a slugfest. I think they're going to take a few rounds to work themselves out. You've got a southpaw and you've got an orthodox, very skilled, you know, undefeated fighters. That's where boxing should be at the ultimate level, you know, in terms of, you know, what it's about. And every fighter should be watching that fight, you know, in terms of how they see boxing. Every fighter, every promoter, every manager, every trainer should be watching that fight, because they are two class fighters, you know, at the top of their game. And it would teach everybody watching what it's like at the highest level and where you need to get to.
And what it takes as well. And one of the things that we do with these following the fighters is just, you know, we want to humanise them, just to show people at home, this is not just about turning up 10 seconds before the bell goes and I'm standing there and I'm fighting. You know, this is showing them everything that goes into it, family life, you know, it's not just a fighter's fan.
Mental as well, a lot of mental. There's a lot of mental that goes into, you know, your 10 weeks, my training camps are like 10 weeks, 8 weeks. There's a lot of mental aspects that's involved, you know what I mean? That, you know, I prepare for the absolute worst. I you know what, I get up in the morning, and if I'm feeling, you know, I can't really do this run, it's raining outside, I'm thinking I'm gonna get smashed a bit. So that thought there gets me out of bed, jumping, and I'm there running. It's because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to go in there. And I want to go in there knowing that there's no stone unturned. You know, I've done everything I could possibly can to, you know, get the job done.
It's the winner's mentality, isn't it? You know, you've got to always think to yourself, I'm doing more than he is, and that's it that matters.
Yeah.
You know, especially in that ring.
His attitude towards his training is second to none. One thing I can, you know, some fighters you got to really give them a rocket and say, look, you know, you need to get out there, you need to do your runs, you need to do this. With Ahmed, no.
He's already done them before you phoned him. It's the kind of kid you want around. So, Ahmed, talking about, you know, where you see yourself in 5 years, obviously, you know, how long do you think it'll be before, you know, if everything goes smooth, before we're talking world titles, 6, 7 years maybe?
Listen,
I know you do it tomorrow, but
you know what? Well, I'm 26 now. I want to be up there. Yeah, next 5 years, that's where I want to be at. You know, I mean, I you know, boxing's a young man's game, and I understand that. So yes, I want to be moved at the right pace, but I want to be, you know, I want to be moved at the right pace, but I want to be fighting live people. I want to be challenging for titles, and I want to be, you know, I mean, up there, and that's what I'm in it for. You know? That's
it, absolutely. Well, we look forward to following you all throughout, and alongside with Mick as well. We're gonna put some bits that pieces have never seen, that people never seen before. So what it's actually like to be a pro fighter, not just in terms of that. Max has offered to go running with you at 6 a.m.
It's news to Max.
Well, he challenged Tyson Fury yesterday, so he needs to do something. So he said he'll go running with you at 6 a.m. off in the car. But yeah, it'd be really interesting. I want to show people, you know, look at what Ahmed goes through every day. You know, this is what it takes. This is the dedication. And yeah, we'll look forward to following it.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks very much for coming in, guys.
No,
and you've got one more thing. There's 2 more things to do. First thing is, anyone you want to replicate on our Legends wall? Got a few. I mean, Ahmed Ali obviously is behind you.
Yeah.
You've got Nigel Benn up there, and no, I don't think any of your weight division actually. But
no, you've got all mainly heavyweights, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, apart from Nigel Benn, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
But if one of them could be your idol, who would it be?
Apart from Muhammad Ali, he's the greatest, isn't it? But I'd say Mike Tyson, man. He's just got that killing instinct, and that's what I
would thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much, Mick.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll look forward to following it, and we'll be at your fight, and we'll show the people what it's like to be inside your dressing room.
I really appreciate it.
Take care. See you good.
Really
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys, for having us.
No worries.
Good. Well done, mate.
No worries. Thank you.